Would you believe me if I told you that a little more than a year ago that this Rams team won a Super Bowl? Well, they did, but their downfall was much, much worse. But before we can get into that, less than 1% of you guys are subscribed to my channel that watch my videos. So if you could do me a huge favor and go down below and subscribe, that would mean the world to me. And also, if you want to see your team done in a rebuild by me, leave a comment down below on who you want me to rebuild, and your comment will be featured in that video. And also, if we could get 10 likes on this video, that would be great. So let's get into the reason why the Rams' downfall was so bad. The biggest issue with this Rams team is the fact that their offensive line is so bad. They weren't able to cover for Matthew Stafford at all. But Matthew Stafford wasn't great either, but neither were his receivers. This team really fell apart after the Super Bowl, and no one really knows why. Their defense completely crumbled, and they are entering in a complete rebuild mode because they got rid of their best corner in Jalen Ramsey. So today is our day we try to rebuild them and see what we can do. It's not all negatives about this team. They had a pretty solid draft. They got a defensive tackle, a cornerback, and an outside linebacker for themselves, while also getting a solid left guard and Stetson Bennett, who is a conference championship winning quarterback. So you can't beat winners. And I think we're going to have to sim to the midseason mark because there's not much I can do to this roster as of right now. And at the midseason mark of year number 1, we are 4-2. So let's take a look at the stats to see why we are 4-2. Because it doesn't look like Matthew Stafford is putting up that great of numbers. And it looks like Cam Akers is going for 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's doing very, very good on the ground. And Van Jefferson is leading our receivers, and Tyler Higbee is not too far away. Cooper Kupp only has 323 yards, which is a very big step down for when he normally does. Tutu Atwell at 200 and Cam Akers at 100. Decent stats from all these guys. But Aaron Donald has 3.5 sacks. Byron Young, our rookie, has 2.5. And Michael Hart has 1. And Kobe Durant has 3 interceptions. He is a rookie from this previous draft, I'm pretty sure. But let's sim to the end of this season to see if we can keep this up. Even with our roster as bad as it is, we went 10-7 in our first season and made the wild card. So what I really want to know is, how did we do it? Matthew Stafford still didn't put up that great of numbers, only 4,100 yards, 35 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. And Cam Akers had 1,698 yards, 10 touchdowns. Very, very solid numbers from him. That could be a reason why. And it didn't look like our receivers got a lot of yards at all. Cooper Kupp had 800, Tutu Atwell had 800, Van Jefferson had 800, Tyler Higbee had 800, but Cam Akers had 500 with 4 touchdowns. So Cam Akers kind of carried our offense, and he's a very solid running back. So I could see him doing good things in the future, but let's see if we can beat the Cowboys. And we are not able to beat the Cowboys, but that's to be expected. We lose 31-6. So this is the point where the rebuild can really start. So let's go see who we need to re-sign. Something I'm trying to get better at is going and showing you guys the yearly awards. And Justin Herbert wins MVP for the first season. And let's see if we have anybody for Offensive Player of the Year. Cam Akers is 4. I thought he would be higher up, but that's fine. He did a really good job for this team. Defensive Player of the Year is Aaron Donald. A very, very good showing from him. We have to check the stats afterwards, but there is no one for Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year. Byron Young is at 5. Still a very solid showing from him. I know I only showed you the offensive side of things, so let's look at the defensive side of things. Yep, Aaron Donald had 22.5 sacks. And Byron Young had 5.5. Marquise Copeland had 4. And Michael Holt had 3.5. For all defensively interceptions, Kobe Durant had 3. Ernest Jones had 2. And then 1 across the board for everyone else. But let's go take a look at who we need to re-sign. So in re-signings, it doesn't look like there's really anyone that I'm looking at to re-sign. All of these guys are pretty bad, I'm not going to lie. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hop straight into free agency and see how we can make our team better there. In free agency, there are a couple guys that I want to go for, and I'm looking at John Johnson III. He'd be a very solid safety for us. We can get him on a 4-year deal. He's fairly cheap, and he wants to be here. And same with Jabril Peppers. He's not that old, and he has superstar dev, which would be a solid addition to this team because our safeties right now are pretty bad. And another thing we need to look for is offensive line. And I think we're going to try to go with Rodney Hudson on a 1-year deal just to kind of fill that gap at center, to basically be a fill-in guy so that when we draft someone, they're not stepping right into taking the reins. And another guy that I was looking at down on the board was Isaiah Oliver. He is a significant upgrade from the best corner that we have right now. And I think if he wants to accept a contract from us, we're going to give it to him. He's a very decent player and only 26 years old, so it would be very, very good for us to get him. I do need to sign a kicker and punter, and it doesn't really matter that much who I get, but I just want to make sure that I get one. Let's evaluate all of our offers, see who signs. Rodney Hudson, Matt Gay, and Isaiah Oliver all sign with us. And John Johnson goes to the Washington Commanders. And Jabril Peppers, looks like we have to fight a little bit more for him, so we're going to go player-friendly deal, see if that upping the money puts us at the top of his list. I hope it does, and it does. We're going to put our offer through, and we got Jabril Peppers. So let's make sure we get a punter real quick before I get out of here. Blake Gilkin, solid deal for him. There we go. Let's send it through, see if we get him. And we do. We got all the positions I needed in free agency. Let's move to the draft and see what we can do. So this is probably the most scouting I've ever done for a team because this team has holes on like everything. So the issue with the Rams is they don't have a lot of draft capital, like at all. I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to trade away Matthew Stafford for a first-round pick, and I'm going to let Stetson Bennett start because I just don't see a world where we can turn a second, third, and four sixth-round picks into something really good. So Stetson Bennett is 26, 66 overall. Matthew Stafford is a 75 overall. I know there's a 9 thing difference there, but to be honest with you, it's worth it. We're not going to get anything from the Broncos. Let's take a look to see if we can get anything. We can send them to the Bucks. That would be a good pick. 11th, they don't even want him. You need a quarterback, but you don't want him is crazy to me. A third-round pick is too high. I think maybe we should look for a team that has multiple second-round picks because that might be the way we need to go because I don't think we're going to get a ton of like first-rounders for him. We're not even going to get one, which is really sad. They don't want to take that deal. The Commanders surely would want to take something, right? We can't give up much more than what we have right now. We have so many holes on our team, and we need to give up so much. We may have to trade away Tyler Higbee. He's just as old, and that's not even enough. This is going to get really difficult. There's really not much we can do. And I don't think there's a team, I mean, the Jets, but are they willing to give up a first for all that? That's so close. I think a sixth might be able to bring that in because I have a guy that I want, but I don't know if it's worth whatever. We're going to send it in. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to sim to our pick, and I'm going to hope and pray that my guy is still there. I actually might trade back.
the Rams.
If he's still there, I'm going to trade back a couple spaces because there's two guys I want. And I'll show you them right now. It's Nolan Barber and Leon Rhodes. And they're first to second rounders. So they may still be on the board. And if we can recoup some draft picks, drafting back, that would be muy bueno. That'd be really good for us. Like doing this trade with the Titans gets us another second round pick, which is even better. So we jump back. Was that a 2025? I don't think I read that right. Oh my gosh. I just made a massive mistake. Please tell me I didn't just trade away our first this year. Oh, I did. Oh, and it was a second next year too. Okay. So I basically traded that away to get nothing. That is super unfortunate. It looks like we are building for our future in those regards. So let's just sim to this pick. I already butchered this draft, but maybe that means we'll do good this season. Probably not, but it'll be fine. I did a lot of scouting for other players as well. I know in this spot we need to take... see, this is difficult because we really need a right guard. So I'll get Matt Beckham. Hidden development is very solid. What's my next pick? Third round. That's decent. So we can deal with that. Maybe we can still win this draft. We can still win this draft. This is the copium talking, but this is perfect. Howie Chamberlain is coming here. He looks like a really solid center. Only normal dev though. That's really shitty, but it is what it is. Can't do much else with that. We're going to sim all the way to the 6th round and hope there's a guy there that we can take. I'm just praying at this point.
Los Angeles Rams,
if there's anyone there that I have personally scouted, that's a clutch. There's not. So I'm just going to let the CPU draft the rest of my players. I butchered this draft, but it'll be okay. We're still going to win a Super Bowl someday. So going into year number 2, this is what our team is looking like. We have Cam Akers, Stetson Bennett as our quarterback, Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell, and Van Jefferson. I did upgrade our offensive line quite a bit. Rodney Hudson being here really helps. I moved Chamberlain to right guard and Beckham to right tackle. So basically just a full shift. And then on defense, we didn't really make any upgrades other than bringing in Jabril Peppers. And our Byron Young, I gave him star development from the beginning. I remember that now. Yep, he had star development from the beginning, which is kind of sucky. I'm iffy about Stetson Bennett being our quarterback. I am thinking I just say screw it and let him do it. But I'm going to check free agency and see if there's any quarterbacks there that shouldn't be there. Nope. Stetson Bennett is better than all of these guys here. So it looks like we're going with Stetson Bennett as our quarterback. And let's sim to the midseason point and see where we're at. We are 3-3, which isn't terrible for what players we have on our team, but it's not the best. So let's take a look at the stats for the midseason mark and see how we won 3 games. Stetson Bennett is the worst quarterback in the league. 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. That's to be expected. 500 yards for Cam Akers, 3 touchdowns. And receiving, Tutu Atwell has almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Van Jefferson almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Cam Akers, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. And let me check defense to see how we're doing in that department. And maybe there's some upside to it. Aaron Donald with 4.5 sacks. Nick Hampton with 2. And interception-wise, Jordan Fuller with 2. Ernest Jones with 1. Tre'Davious Tomlin, however you say his name, it's not looking good for this team at all. We're most likely not going to make the playoffs, but we're going to sim to the end of the season and see if we can. And just like I thought, we were one of the worst teams. We went 6-11, but at least this year we have our number 1 pick, so we can actually use that to our advantage. So let's see how we did statistically this season. I know it's not going to look great, but how did Stetson Bennett throw 43 touchdowns? 20 picks, though, 4,300 yards. Cam Akers had 1,400 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns on the ground. Cooper Kupp had 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Cam Akers had 792 yards, 10 touchdowns. So it looks like they had a really good connection. Van Jefferson had 800 yards, 7 touchdowns. But defensively, let's see if Aaron Donald was able to break 22 sacks. It doesn't look like he even got close. Only 14.5. Byron Young had 3.5. Christopher Coker had 3 interceptions. Jordan Fuller had 4. Jason Taylor had 3. Travius Hodges Tomlinson had 2. And Ernest Jones had 2. So not a bad season by all means, but obviously not the best season. So let's go to re-signing our players. So for re-signings, we have Cam Akers, Van Jefferson, Jordan Fuller, AJ Jackson, and a couple other guys. The guys later on the list aren't that good, but Cam Akers is a solid piece that we need to try to retain. And he wants to be here, which is great because we need him here. Jordan Fuller, our strong safety, superstar dev now, 26 years old. I think we give him a player-friendly deal and see if we can get him to be here. And he does want to be here. Everybody else can kind of walk. I'm not too worried about that. But let's go into free agency and see who we can grab. In free agency, it looks like there are a lot of solid players. It would be dope to put Nick Bosa and Aaron Donald together. I wonder if it's even possible. Let's take a look to see if it is. And we have it 4, not bad. But what I really want to do is I really want to sign Justin Herbert. We're going to go very player friendly. We're going to offer him a big contract and see if he'll take it. We are leading on him, which would be amazing to get him. Should we try to get Chidobe Awuzie? He would be a very solid cornerback for us. Let's get him on a 2-year deal. See if he'll take that. We do have draft picks this year. So let's submit these through and see who goes with us. And none of them go with us. We're still getting held out by Nick Bosa. And at this point, since we weren't able to get Justin Herbert, I think we just go all in for Nick Bosa. Give him a very player-friendly deal. We're leading the pack. Can we put them together? And yes, we can. Aaron Donald and Nick Bosa are going to be playing side by side. And that would be a very, very scary sight to see if you're any quarterback for the opposing teams. So let's go to the draft and see who we can get. So instead of clicking go to the draft, I click simulate draft. So I messed up another draft, but luckily I had all of my players that I wanted favorited. So the computer does a good job picking from those favorites. And it does look like we got most of the players I wanted. We got Gerald Wagner, Jerry Trent, Timmy Aldridge, Alani Posey, Mike White. That was on my list. I wanted to make a joke about it, but I couldn't because I messed it up. We have Bryson Clark, DeMarco Huff, Deontay Collins, Darren Thompson, and Dominic Bruce. Most of those guys were on my list, so it did a good job of picking the players I wanted, but sadly you guys don't get to see the visual of me doing it because I messed it up. But that's for a different day. So it looks like our team is decent. I'm probably going to start Mike White because he's a rookie. It just makes sense to start the rookie if they're the same overall. Alani Posey is probably going to go into number 2 for us. And then defensively, we have Nick Bosa, Aaron Donald, and 2 defensive tackles. We have a brand new cornerback 1 and a brand new cornerback number 3. So that is a very solid upgrade for us and a very solid right outside linebacker. So this team is finally starting to come together. But let's see where we're at the midseason mark. And it sucks I didn't get to show you guys the draft because I was really excited about this one. But it is what it is. We are 3-8 at the midseason mark. So let's take a look to see how this team is doing. Mike White is not doing too bad for being a rookie. He has 1,000 yards, basically 2,000, 18 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Rushing, Cam Akers has 600 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Cooper Kupp has 500 yards, 5 touchdowns. Alani Posey has 500 yards, 5 touchdowns. And Tutu Atwell has 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Cam Akers has 200 yards, 1 touchdown. And defensively, oh yeah, that's what we're looking for. Nick Bosa has 11 sacks. Aaron Donald has 10.5. Jabril Peppers has 2 interceptions. Gerald Wagner has 2 interceptions. And Jordan Fuller has 1. So let's see if we can keep up this success and make it to the playoffs in year number 3. Doesn't look like we could keep up the success. We go 7-10 in the regular season. Let's take a look to see, though, how our team did. Mike White kind of fell off. Almost 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Not the best. Cam Akers had 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns on the ground. Tutu Atwell had almost 900 yards, 5 touchdowns. Alani Posey had almost 900 yards, 8 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp had almost 900 yards, 7 touchdowns. And Cam Akers had almost 600 yards, 1 touchdown. And defensively, yeah, that's what we're looking for. That is what we're looking for. Nick Bosa had 24 sacks. Aaron Donald had 23. Byron Young had 5. Jerry Tent had 2.5. Kobe Turner had 2. Interception-wise, Gerald Wagner had 5. Jabril Peppers had 4. Jordan Fuller had 2. A very, very solid year from all of our guys. MVP goes to James Applewhite, who I think was a rookie quarterback in the first year of the draft. Very, very solid showing from him. But let's go to NFC. Chris Godwin wins Offensive Player of the Year. Cam Akers comes in at 4 again. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Nick Bosa, but we also had number 2, which is amazing. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Brendan Ambrose. I think he might be a quarterback. Alani Posey is at 3, and Mike White is at 4. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Gerald Wagner, who is an 83 overall now. He must have superstar X-Factor development or something, because that's really quick for a rookie to go from 79 to 83 in one season. Let's take a look here. And he does. He does have superstar X-Factor. And our other rookie had superstar. We just got 2 stud corners in the same draft. If we build up this defensive line, and we can move Fuller over to free safety, if we can get a middle linebacker, oh, this team can be something special. As well as also if we try to get an actual quarterback, that would be very good as well. Aldridge goes up to a 79 overall. So let's look at re-signings and see how we can get better. In players ready to re-sign, there's a big one for us. Aaron Donald, who I think we need to give a very player-friendly deal to get him there. And he will be here next offseason. That was the biggest deal, was getting him to stay on this team. We also need to re-sign our kickers and all that. Matt Gay wants to be here. I'll just find a punter that wants to be here as well. Ernest Jones can walk. Tutu Atwell, he wants to be here. He's not the best. I'm probably going to look at upgrading receiver, but I will give him a deal, and he does take it. And other than that, I think everyone else can walk, and let's see who's in free agency. In free agency, there are a couple really good options for us to go with a couple different places. The only issue is a lot of them don't want to be here, which is okay. I can completely understand that, but it sucks that they don't want to be here because of our quarterback situation. And the quarterbacks in here aren't really the best. I mean, I could go Zach Wilson, but at that point, a 73 overall, I have a quarterback sitting on my roster with basically the same overall. And just paying head over heels for this kind of thing doesn't seem like what I want to do. I will go a very player-friendly deal for Christian Darrisaw. Running is part of our game heavily, so we probably need to upgrade that part of our team. And I wouldn't be mad if we tried to get Pat Fryermuth, but let's see who's interested in being here. And it's a whole lot of nothing. So I think our biggest upgrade we can do is probably going to be working on the draft. I will give Michael Pierce a 1-year deal as long as he wants to be here. We're going to submit those two through, and we do get Christian Darrisaw. So we don't get Michael Pierce. We still have a lead on him, so I'm just going to submit it through again, and we get Michael Pierce. So let's take a look at what the team looks like. This is the one draft that I haven't butchered yet, so let's make it a good one and draft the right players. And for my first choice, I want to trade up. I want to trade up for what I think is probably a generational defensive tackle. I saw him and he got like A's across the board kind of thing, and he looks like a stud. So it's the kind of thing where you kind of need to trade up to get him, which sucks because I don't want to ruin our draft capital for these upcoming seasons. But he looks so good, and he's a top 5 pick, and we're just barely outside of the top 5. So I think it's very possible to get him. I want to trade up to 1 to do that. I'm going to see. That's super close. I think we can get it with a 4th round pick. A 4th should get it done. Maybe the 4th and 5th, because I really don't need those super late round picks. That's terrible that they don't want to go for that. I'll do a 4th, and you need a right end. Do we have just a right end that we can dish off? No, we don't. Let's not give away our best player. They need a defensive tackle. We're going to get a defensive tackle. So I say send it through. It's a done deal. We get the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And I'm going to choose the guy that I think is going to be the best player to come out of this draft. And that is the defensive tackle. If it would load, let's go to favorites. Jaleel Ellis. He looks so good. A power moves, A tackle. Finesse is A to C, but he looks really good. Hidden development, I expected it would be. The double fist pump could mean superstar X Factor, but I'm not done with trading. I'm trading our 1st round pick next year to trade up to this year in the top 10, because I really want a player who is projected to go in the top 5 again. Now, it is going to be a little bit harder to get this one just because of where it is. If I could just do a pick swap to next year, that's very close. That would be really, really good for us. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Let's send that through, and it doesn't. Could I give them Stetson Bennett? They need a quarterback. Stetson Bennett, and we get the 3rd pick. So we didn't even have to give up a 2nd round for that. It was basically just a pick swap and Stetson Bennett. But we're going to sim to the next pick. He doesn't go, which makes it even better. And it is Colby Silva. He's a top 5 talent, and he looks like an amazing quarterback with A medium, A short, just a solid guy. Only normal development. That is terrible. He's going to be our quarterback of the future, obviously, but he's going to have to develop a lot in his first couple seasons, which sucks. He's only normal dev, because that means he's going to have to go up to star and go through all of those. With our 2nd round pick, I don't have a lot of guys, because I thought I would take more to go up and get the players I did. So I don't have a lot of people that I'm really looking at. So I am just going to select Justin Pemberton. He looks like a solid player. The A to C awareness for a guard is nice. He has hidden development. I wish our quarterback had hidden development. If I could trade it, I would. But we're going to sim to our 3rd round pick. Probably trade this one away, because the guy that I'm looking at next is further back. He's supposed to be going in like the 5th and 6th, I think it said. So that would be really dope to get. Let's try to get a 2nd next year, because then we can always trade up with 2
This pick
seconds.
has been traded.
So we're going to pick at number 8 in the 5th round, and we're probably going to be going
The Los Angeles Rams.
the
now
middle
on the
linebacker
line.
there. He looked really solid. I don't think he was anything special, and of course he was taken. But we'll go Trent Callahan. No big deal. Normal dev, I knew that
Denver
from the
Broncos
get-go.
are now on the
He
clock.
wasn't someone I was looking at, didn't look anything special, but I'll show you what the team looks like after the draft. So coming out of the draft, our offensive line is looking so much better than it did when it first started. And our new quarterback is a 76 overall. He is significantly better than Mike White, but sadly, he doesn't have any better dev trait. So that's what we're going to work on getting him this season. And Tutu Atwell and just mediocre receivers other than Cooper Kupp. But the defense is really where we shine. An 81 overall for Ellis, our new rookie defensive tackle. I think he'll be very solid in that role. And we have a very, very good core of corners now and a very solid back line there. I'm going to go into free agency and see if there's a middle linebacker I can sign, because it really sucks that we don't have a way to get the middle linebacker I wanted to. I looked at the end of the draft. He was a 70 overall, so not much better than the guy that we got, but it'd be much nicer to have a 70 overall in there than what we do now. And I think anyone in free agency was probably going to be better. 28-year-old Cody Barton, field general, works for me. Let's sign him. That's our new middle linebacker. Let's sim to midseason and see where we're at. And we are 2-5 at the midseason mark. Not where we want to be, but it is what it is. Let's take a look to see how our team is doing. Colby Silva is not doing very good. 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Not a very good showing. 600 yards for Cam Akers, 6 touchdowns. Receiving, Alani Posey has 300 yards. Cooper Kupp almost has 300 yards. And there's not a lot of touchdowns to go around. And let's see, defensively, Aaron Donald and Nick Bosa doing what they do best. Byron Young, he's getting good. And I don't see our defensive tackle anywhere here. Yeah, he has done barely anything, which is super unfortunate. But let's sim to the end of the season and see if we can pick it up. At the end of the season, we are 6-11. Definitely not where we wanted to be, but it's okay. It's a rookie quarterback. Hopefully he did better, and he didn't. This might have been the biggest bust ever. I'm disappointed in the way he played. 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. Cam Akers, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. Timmy Aldridge went crazy for the rest of the year for 800 yards, 1 touchdown. Cooper Kupp, 800 yards, 7 touchdowns. Alani Posey, 700 yards, 5 touchdowns. Nothing super crazy on that scheme of things. 18 sacks for Aaron Donald, 15 for Nick Bosa, 8.5 for Byron Young. And our rookie got 1. So that's nice as well. So let's take a look at what the team looks like. I don't think we're going to win any awards, so other than Defensive Player of the Year most likely. Let's take a look at what the team looks like, because it says the team isn't terrible, but they're not looking great. So offense didn't change much at all. Our rookie that we got had star development, which is very nice to see. He didn't play enough to get shown his talent. That's probably why. That just means we're not going to re-sign Pierce when it comes time. That's fine by me. I wasn't really planning on keeping him around anyway, especially because I want to get younger talent in the door. A very disappointing season. I hope that maybe we can get better at some point. It's not looking too good right now. And I'm only probably going to do like 3 or 4 more years of this if we don't win a Super Bowl. The Rams are just unfixable. So let's see where we are when we go to re-signings. Players we have to re-sign: Michael Pierce. I already talked about him and not bringing him back, which is fine by me. Isaiah Oliver, not coming back. Cody Barton, not coming back. This is looking like a good thing from us that a lot of these guys aren't going to be coming back. Steve Avelia, I do want to bring him back. He's a really solid piece of our offensive line that we've built up. He's going to plan on testing out free agency. I don't think it's worth the franchise tag on him, so we're not going to. Travius Tomlinson, we did get rid of a corner. We're not bringing one back, so we're going to keep him on the roster. He's happy to play for us. I'm glad someone is. These other guys, I'm not too interested in bringing back. Jason Taylor II, I mean, superstar dev, I'll bring him back for the 2-year deal that he has now. He's glad we got an offer done. I'm surprised he signed it. I wouldn't have. Byron Young, he's been a really solid guy for us the past couple years when it comes to sacks. So I am going to re-sign him, and he does want to be here, so that's perfect. These other guys, I'll probably see if I can re-sign them in free agency. That seems like the best bet. So let's take a look at who's in free agency. Here in free agency, DK Metcalf is here, Ronnie Stanley, Garrett Wilson is also here. It doesn't seem to be a lot of people that I'd want to get. Shaq Thompson, I would think about it. We do need a middle linebacker. He brings a veteran presence. I don't know how many people are going to be trying to get him. He is going to digress a lot. Doesn't look like we're going to get him, but it's worth a shot. I'm going to see if we can get DK Metcalf, because if you're not a good quarterback with bad receivers, you're not going to be a good quarterback with really good receivers. So we're going to send that through, see if he comes here. He does want to be a Ram, and Shaq Thompson did not want to be a Ram. That is fine by me. Quay Walker, never mind. I found a better option for us, and there's a little bit of interest there. So let's send that through, and Quay Walker is a Ram. So we're going to go to the draft, see where we can upgrade, and see if we can finally start to win games. So we're in the NFL draft, and I know exactly who I'm trying to get in these picks, so I'm not going to waste your time. We have back-to-back picks in the second, and I know exactly who I need. We're going with Corey Gary with our first pick. We need a left guard. He looks really solid. Hidden development is amazing. And we have back-to-back picks, like I said. And I think we're going to go with a halfback here, Tyger Warwick. He seems really solid. He'd be a good backup. I say he seems really solid, and then he has normal dev, which sucks. But he seems like he'd be really good as a backup for Cam Akers. So we're going to take a shot on him. And with our last pick that I'm personally doing, Dwayne Turk, defensive tackle, fills in the slot we left. 99 strength is really good, but normal dev kind of just sucks. I know I took him a little higher than he was projected to go, but I expected him to be at least star. But I'll see you guys when I show you what the team looks like. And here's a look at the team going into year number 5, I think it is. It's a very solid looking team. I wish our quarterback had a better dev trait, but it is what it is. We have really solid receivers now, so that's very nice to see. And our defense looks much better. Ellis did have superstar X factor, which is what I expected from the start. But let's sim to the midseason mark and see if this can translate to in-game. And at the midseason mark, we are 4-3, which is much better than last season. But let's take a look and see if our quarterback is playing better. And I'd say he is. He has almost 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Cam Akers has 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. Receiving, Cooper Kupp has 640 yards, 2 touchdowns. Timmy Aldridge has 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. DK Metcalf has 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. Alani Posey, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Defensively, Nick Bosa has 13.5 sacks. Aaron Donald only has 3.5. Jared Trent has 2. Byron Young has 1.5. Jaleel Ellis has 1. Jason Bennett has 1. Not really crazy numbers on the defensive side of things. Hopefully they can step it up, because I feel like if they can step it up, this team can go farther than it did last year. But let's see if that's possible. And it looks like we were able to step it up for the second half of the season, because we went 13-4. I don't know where that came from, but let's take a look to see what the stats are. Colby Silva decided to go crazy this year with 4,600 yards, 41 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I did change the playbook. I was running the Panthers playbook. If you couldn't tell by the fact that Cam Akers was going nuts every season, the Panthers playbook is just good for any running back. And then I switched it to the Chiefs just because Chiefs is well-rounded, and I felt like we had a good enough team to play in it, and obviously that's true. Rushing, Cam Akers, 1,300 yards. Receiving, Cooper Kupp, 1,400 yards. DK Metcalf, 1,000. Timmy Aldridge, 8. That's another thing that happens in the Chiefs playbook. Tight end gets a ton of yards, which is something I do like. And defensively, Nick Bosa goes for 31.5 sacks, 11.5 for Aaron Donald, 4.5 for Jaleel Ellis, and 3.5 for Byron Young. Jabril Peppers has 4 interceptions. Gerald Wagner has 3. Bryson Clark has 2. So our defense definitely did step it up. I wonder if Colby Silva won anything. He did not win MVP, which sucks. But I'm going to assume that Nick Bosa won Defensive Player of the Year. And I don't think we're going to have anyone in this category. John Gallery, I don't think I drafted him. Yeah, that was a CPU drafted guy. But we're going to sim and see if we can beat the Panthers in the wild card. And let's find out. They're only 8-9, so I think it's very doable. And we do 33-28. If Matthew Stafford was still on this team, we'd be going against his old team, but he's not. So let's see if we can beat the Lions to make it to the conference championship for the first time. And we do 38-35. So let's sim through and see if we can beat the Vikings. They look like a really solid team. And we do 35-28. We're making it to the Super Bowl this year. That is a huge step up. And all it took was adding in DK Metcalf. So let's jump into the game and see if we can win it. So we finally made it to the Super Bowl. We are playing in Miami. It feels like all of my rebuilds end at this time. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's just I'm that good of a rebuilder. But we're going to sim to the end of the game and see if we can win it. It's a defensive battle right now. We take the ball back. We score 3. Cleveland goes up by 7. We go, I don't know. I'm a really bad announcer. But we're in the lead right now. We have 12. They have 7. We get the ball back. It's 19. I'm going to play this. I want to win. And I also want to see what it's like on this team. I think we've already won, but I just want to see what it's like. Cam Akers.
And some space
Nice space. What just happened?
Now the Browns signal
That
for the
was
second
weird.
of their
That was
timeouts.
funny.
And they'll be disappointed to have to
He was
burn
just
one
kind of
there
like
after giving up the
having a
first down.
seizure midfield, and it kind of worked. So maybe do it again, Cam Akers. Maybe that's your like specialty.
They'll go again here with Akers.
I know like tearing your
Yeah, he'll
Achilles
get
is
it
more your
inside
thing,
the
but I think
35.
Now the defense
Seizures
will burn their
midfield is
third
also a
and
very
final
good
timeout
option.
As they'll talk things
I mean,
over
this
prior
game
to
is
this upcoming
ooh,
second down
right.
play.
We can kick a field goal to win the game. We could also take a knee, take timeout, and see. I shouldn't have
He's
spun
able to
there.
get it down to the
But
25-yard
we get a
line.
first down. That basically means we won the game. So we can end it here. We go to the end of the game, and we are Super Bowl champions. So thank you so much for watching. It looks like the Rams are a rebuildable team. It's just going to take them a couple years. If you haven't already, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And also, leave a comment down below on what team you want me to rebuild next. And have a great day. Peace.